I'm Kevin Cottrell, and this is People with a Purpose. Life Week is coming up in February, and to talk about the pro-life issues that affect all of us today is Dr. Alveda King, Pastoral Associate and Director of African American Outreach with Priests for Life and founder of King for America. She's the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Dr. King, it's a pleasure to speak with you.
Well, it's so wonderful to join you and all of your listening audience, and February is going to be an exciting time, so I'm glad to talk to everyone today.
Why don't you share a little bit of your story with us?
Well, I am the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., my father, his brother, Reverend A.D. King, Alfred Daniel Williams King. They worked together in the civil rights movement in the 20th century. They were Baptist preachers. And their father, Reverend Martin Luther King Sr., of course, was a preacher, and even their grandfather and great-grandfather, through their mother, her Mama King's grandfather was a slave preacher, and then her father, Reverend Adam Daniel Williams, founded the NAACP Civil Rights Organization in Georgia. And so that is my background, and I came up as a Christian girl. I lost some of those family values temporarily, and I got into the feminist movement, had secret abortions, but I came back to the Lord, and my grandfather was very instrumental in helping me not to abort another child. He had kept my mother from aborting me when I was conceived in 1950. And so this has given me now, I'm a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ today. I work for the Priest for Life organization, a pro-life organization. I'm a non-denominational Christian who came up in a very strong Christian family, and I have returned to my Christian values here in the 21st century.
Dr. King, that's wonderful. Tell us more about Priests for Life and how folks might be able to get more information from that organization.
That's priest is plural, PRIESTSFORLIFE.org. And I met the National Director of Priests for Life in the late 1990s, and he was quoting my uncle, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., at a national pro-life conference, and I agreed with him, and we began to work together in the pro-life movement, and I became Director of African American Outreach for Priests for Life several years ago.
And you can go to their website, priestsforlife.org, to get more information, to see some videos, and to see Dr. Alveda King's testimony. Now, Life Week, for those that don't know, that's actually coming up at the end of February.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that for people that don't know what that's about.
Well, you have Life Week in February. Of course, January, prior to that, we already had what was known the March for Life, and that was a 40-year anniversary of Roe versus Wade. That was a landmine decision. I don't call it a landmark, but a landmine decision to make abortion legal in America. And so you come out of January, you came out of January into February, and here at the end of February, Life Week, where we're recognizing the sanctity of all human life, and that's from conception until natural death. And people say, well, what about a woman's right to choose? And what about the civil right of abortion? Well, abortion is not civil. Abortion is not wrong. Right, it is wrong. So is euthanasia, and that is the killing of the elderly or the sick, and people who maybe society says they're weak, they're helpless, they're not contributing anything, so we don't need to preserve their lives. And that could be the baby in the womb, it could be the sick person or the elderly person. And so we want to regard right towards the end of what's also known as Black History Month. And you know, February is Black History Month, and the Emancipation Proclamation was signed 150 years ago by President Lincoln on January 1st. You have 50 years of the I Have a Dream speech by Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. in August. So we have all of these landmark and the landmine decision of Roe versus Wade. 2013 is a wonderful year. And so you want to encourage people to begin to know as much as they can about our history, about events that have helped our nation, events our nation and certainly embrace the sanctity of life.
Well, priestforlife.org, the website, I had actually gone there. You give your testimony, very passionate. One of the things that you shared in the video, and there are many other videos too, which I encourage our listeners to go and take a look at, just to be more informed, to come to maybe a better understanding of this whole issue. You shared how basically you kind of bought into the lie early on in your life, didn't you?
I absolutely did. I was pulled away with bad advice by a medical doctor who had delivered my first child. He was affiliated with Planned Parenthood, whose founder, Margaret Sanger, had actually said colored people are like weeds and need to be exterminated. We don't want the word to get out, so let's cultivate some of their leaders. And so this man was the board of trustees in our church, very respected a medical doctor, but he was secretly embracing that agenda. And he sent me to Planned Parenthood with my second pregnancy. He did a DNC in his office rather than doing a pregnancy test and sent me to Planned Parenthood. And I began to buy those lies, and their advice was, well, you don't have to talk to people at church or at your family. Let us be your new best friend, and we'll help you. And so all of the terrible contraceptives that I took that made my body sick, the abortions, and as I say, in the mid-'70s, Planned Parenthood had advised me to get another abortion, and I told my grandfather. And he says, oh, no, honey, we don't do abortions. That's Martin Luther King Sr. And as I say, he and my daddy had kept me from being aborted in 1950, but that was a family secret. And so I departed from Planned Parenthood's lies based on the father of that child in the mid-'70s, based upon my grandfather. And in 1983, I became a born-again Christian, and I repented for all of my sins, including those abortions. And then I have become a pro-life voice across the globe.
Well, we really thank you for your grandfather, Dr. Martin Luther King Sr., the fact that he was diligent in continuing to reach out to you, and eventually you did heed what he said. If people want to connect with you, from what I understand, you have a Facebook page for folks that might want to contact you?
I have Facebook, I have Twitter, of course, and then Alveda King, ALVEDAKING, at priest with an S, FOR life.org, Alveda King at priestforlife.org.
And there's also another, it's, what is it, AfricanAmericanOutreach.org?
AfricanAmericanOutreach.com or .org, and that will take you straight directly to my Priest for Life page.
Okay, very good. You know, this scary and very staggering and very sad statistic about 50% of pregnancies within the black community end in abortion is just such a horrible thing to hear. How is that being addressed today? Are there inroads to change that percentage?
As Director of African American Outreach for Priest for Life, I work with a group of African American pro-life leaders at the National Black Pro-Life Coalition, blackprolifecoalition.org. We have a book, Life at All Cost. We have many of us appear in a movie called MAAFA, MAAFA 21, MAAFA21.com. And we are getting this word out through our book, through the video. We visit organizations. We come and kind of teach and inform communities. And so that is part of the work of African American Outreach at Priest for Life, networking and getting this information out across the communities.
Now, I believe they can see that video if they go to the priestforlife.org website.
Right, and it will direct them straight to that. There's also Martin Luther King and Planned Parenthood there. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was definitely pro-life, and we have some information there about that, too. For Black History Month, especially at that last week, you might want to look at that as well.
Yeah, we encourage folks to go to that website. There's a wealth of information. Some of the things that Dr. Alveda King's been talking about, you can get even more information there at the website, Priests for Life. That's priests with an S, forlife.org. We're talking with the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Alveda King, with Priests for Life and founder of King for America. Besides the things that we've talked about, Dr. King, what can our listeners do to get more involved? What would you encourage them to do?
Well, in 2013, I would say I want to encourage all listeners to do the very best you can in your own community, your own neighborhood, your own circle of influence. And you can say, well, I don't even talk to anybody every day. I live by myself. Well, drop a postcard, send a text. Talk to people about things that you are learning and that you're beginning to understand about the sanctity of life, and share that. You can share it at church, at work, at your neighborhood and community events. You can further educate yourself. And as we begin to do these kinds of activities and share this information in a very positive and loving, non-threatening or non-challenging way, then the people of our communities will begin to understand how precious life is.
And sometimes going through the difficulties that someone like you did, to be brought up in the faith, to walk away from it for a time, to see what the other side preaches and teaches, and then thank God for your grandfather helping you to come back to the faith. You've walked that road. You felt that pain. I saw that in the video that you shared, your testimony, and I just encourage folks to check it out, to really, I thank you for your heart and what you're doing for this cause. God bless you in your continued work, Dr. King.
God bless you, and thank you for talking with me.
We've been talking with Dr. Alveda King, Pastoral Associate and Director of African American Outreach with Priests for Life and founder of King for America. And if you'd like to get more information, go to the website priestsforlife.org. There's information, videos, Alveda King's testimony. Help to educate yourself to this crucial issue. This has been People